The board voted unanimously to remove me as CEO. My dad didn't even look at me when he raised his hand. I watched from across the mahogany table as every person I'd trusted, every executive I'd hired, every board member I'd worked with for 12 years voted yes. My father sat at the head of the table, his face blank, like he was approving a routine expense report instead of ending my career. The betrayal burned worse than anything I'd ever felt. But what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd seen this coming for 6 months. I'd been preparing. While they plotted my removal, I'd been building my exit strategy. They thought they were stealing my company. They had no idea what they'd actually taken. My name is Marcus, and I'm 34 years old. 3 days ago, I was the CEO of TechFlow Industries, an $800 million software company I'd built from nothing with my father. Today, I'm about to watch it all burn down. It started 12 years ago in our garage. I was 22, fresh out of college with a computer science degree and ideas that wouldn't stop coming. My dad, Leonard, had just retired early from his corporate job with a decent severance package. He had money. I had skills. We both had ambition. What if we built software that actually helped small businesses instead of confusing them? I asked him one night over dinner. He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. How much do you need? Within a week, we'd formed an LLC. Within a month, I'd written the first version of our inventory management software. Within 6 months, we had 50 clients. My dad handled the business side while I handled the product. It was perfect. We were partners, father and son, building something real together. Those early years were hard but good. We worked 16-hour days, slept in the office, ate cold pizza for breakfast. But we were happy. By year 3, we had 200 employees and clients in 40 states. TechFlow was growing faster than either of us expected. My dad kept pushing for expansion. We need to scale, he'd say during our morning meetings. We need investors, a Betrayal board, professional management. I was hesitant. I liked being small enough to know everyone's name. But he was right about the growth potential. So I agreed. We brought in venture capital, formed a proper board of directors, and hired executives from bigger companies. My dad became chairman. I became CEO. On paper, we each owned 40% of the company. The remaining 20% belonged to investors. It seemed fair. We'd built this together. We should share it equally. I didn't realize that equal ownership meant nothing if the board turned against you. I didn't understand that my dad saw me as temporary, someone to build the foundation before real professionals took over. The first sign came 2 years ago. My dad started bringing his new wife, Patricia, to board meetings. She had no business experience, no tech knowledge, nothing that qualified her to be there. But she sat next to him, whispering in his ear, influencing his votes. Why is Patricia here? I asked him after one meeting. She's my wife. She has a right to understand our business. She's not part of our business, Dad. His eyes went cold. Everything I own is hers too. You'd better get used to it. I should have fought harder then. Should have seen what was happening. Patricia didn't care about TechFlow. She cared about money. And she'd figured out that an $800 million company controlled by an aging father was worth influencing. She started slowly, suggesting we hire her friends as consultants, pushing my dad to question my decisions, planting seeds of doubt about my leadership. My dad listened to her more than he listened to me. 6 months ago, everything changed. I walked into the office early one morning and found my dad in my office, going through my files. What are you doing? I asked. He didn't even flinch. Reviewing some contracts. There are concerns about your management style. Concerns from who? The board. Patricia. Me. He closed the folder and looked at me. You're too soft, Marcus. Too willing to spend money on employees, on benefits, on things that don't generate immediate returns. This company needs stronger leadership. I built this company, I said quietly. We built it, he corrected. And now it's time to run it like a real business, not a college project. That conversation lasted 10 minutes. By the end, I understood that my father was no longer my partner. He was preparing to remove me. I left his office and went straight to my lawyer. If he wanted war, I'd be ready. I spent the next 3 months documenting everything. Every email, every contract, every decision my dad made that contradicted our original partnership agreement. I hired a forensic accountant to review our finances. What she found was stunning. My dad had been funneling money to Patricia's consulting company for 18 months. Over $3 million paid for services that were never rendered, for reports that were never written, for consulting that never happened. It was fraud. Clear, documented fraud. But I didn't report it. Not yet. I needed more leverage. I needed to understand exactly what he was planning before I made my move. So I watched and waited. I attended board meetings and smiled. I agreed to his suggestions and played the obedient son, all while building my case. My lawyer, Thomas, was brilliant. If they vote to remove you, they'll trigger clauses in the partnership agreement, he explained. Clauses that give you options they've forgotten about. What kind of options? The nuclear kind. The board meeting where they removed me happened on a Tuesday morning. My dad called it a special session to discuss leadership transition. I knew what was coming. Patricia sat in the corner, her face smug. The board members wouldn't meet my eyes. We've decided the company needs new direction, my dad announced. Your leadership has been valuable, Marcus, but it's time for someone with more experience to take over. More experience than the person who built the product? I asked. More experience running a company this size, he said. We're bringing in Theodore Hamilton as the new CEO. You'll stay on as Chief Technology Officer if you'd like. Theodore Hamilton sat 2 seats down, already acting like he owned the place. He was a corporate guy, the type who'd ruined 3 startups with bad management and somehow still got hired. And if I don't accept? I asked. Then we accept your resignation, my dad said. The vote was quick. Unanimous. Even the investors I'd brought in voted against me. I walked out of that boardroom and went straight to Thomas's office. It's done, I said. They voted you out? Unanimously. He smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a lawyer who'd been waiting for this moment. Then we trigger the fail-safe. 6 years ago, when we first brought in investors, I'd insisted on specific clauses in our operating agreement. My dad had barely read them, too focused on the immediate cash injection. Those clauses stated that if I was removed as CEO without cause and without my consent, I had the right to force a buyout of my shares at fair market value, determined by independent valuation. Or I could trigger a company sale. My dad had forgotten about those clauses. So had the board. They were about to remember. File the paperwork, I told Thomas. All of it. Within 2 hours, TechFlow Industries received legal notice that I was exercising my buyout rights and forcing an independent valuation. My dad called me that night. His voice was tight with rage. What the hell are you doing, Marcus? Exercising my legal rights. You can't force a buyout. That'll destroy the company. Then you shouldn't have removed me. This is insane. We can work this out. We could have worked it out before you voted to fire me. Silence on the line. Then, how much do you want? I want fair market value for my 40%. An independent firm will determine that number. That could be $300 million. Could be more, I said. TechFlow was valued at $800 million last quarter. My shares are worth whatever they're worth. We don't have that kind of cash. Then you'll have to sell the company. Or take out massive loans. Or figure something else out. Either way, you have 60 days. I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From satisfaction. He'd thought I was disposable. He was about to learn otherwise. The next morning, Theodore Hamilton called an emergency company meeting. I wasn't invited, but I heard about it from 3 different people within an hour. He'd stood in front of 200 employees and announced that I'd left the company to pursue other interests, that leadership transitions were normal, that nothing would change. Half the engineering team quit that afternoon. By the end of the week, we'd lost 45 employees. All of them people I'd hired, people who understood that I was the reason TechFlow worked. Theodore panicked. He tried to stop the bleeding by offering raises, bonuses, stock options. Nothing worked. The employees didn't care about money. They cared about leadership they trusted. And they didn't trust Theodore. My dad called again. You need to make a statement. Tell people this was amicable. Why would I do that? Because you're destroying everything we built. You destroyed it when you voted me out. I'm just watching it burn. The independent valuation came back 3 weeks later. $920 million. TechFlow had grown even more than the last quarterly assessment. My 40% was worth $368 million. I sent the report to my dad with a simple note. Payment due in 37 days. He responded within an hour, demanding a meeting. We met at a coffee shop downtown, neutral ground. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 3 weeks. We can't pay you, he said without preamble. Then sell the company. Nobody's going to buy it with 45% of the engineering team gone and you threatening legal action. Sounds like a problem you created. Marcus, please. I'm your father. You were my father when you voted to fire me too. That didn't stop you. He leaned forward, his voice dropping. Patricia made some mistakes. The consulting payments, they were inappropriate. I'll fix it. Just drop the buyout. The consulting payments are fraud, I said. I've documented all of it. $3 million over 18 months for services never rendered. His face went pale. You can't prove that. I pulled out my phone and showed him a folder containing 47 emails, 12 contracts, and a forensic accounting report. I can prove all of it. Patricia billed for consultation meetings that never happened, for reports that were never delivered, for services that couldn't even be defined. You signed off on every payment. If you release that, it'll destroy her. It'll destroy you too. Fraud, misappropriation of funds, breach of fiduciary duty. You could face criminal charges. He sat back, his face gray. What do you want? I want my $368 million. You have 34 days. And if I give it to you, you'll bury the fraud evidence? I'll keep it buried as long as you pay me what I'm owed. He stood up, his chair scraping loud against the floor. You've become someone I don't recognize. Good, I said. Because I don't recognize you either. He walked out. I sat there for another 20 minutes, drinking cold coffee and feeling nothing. Theodore lasted another 2 weeks as CEO before resigning. The pressure was too much, the company bleeding talent too fast, the board breathing down his neck for solutions he didn't have. My dad tried to step in as interim CEO, but he hadn't run operations in 10 years. He didn't know the product, didn't know the clients, didn't understand what made TechFlow work. Within days, 3 major clients canceled their contracts. 2 more threatened to leave if stability wasn't restored. The board held another emergency meeting. This time they called me. We need you back, one of the investors said over the phone. As CEO? In whatever capacity makes sense. My capacity was CEO. You voted me out. Now you pay me. Marcus, be reasonable. The company's in free fall. Then my shares are worth less. We'll get another valuation. I hung up before he could argue. I wasn't going back. Not to save them. Not for any amount of apology. They'd made their choice. Now they lived with it. 28 days before payment was due, my dad made one last attempt. He showed up at my apartment at midnight. I almost didn't let him in. 5 minutes, I said. We stood in my living room, neither of us sitting. I'll give you $200 million, he said. Cash, right now, and you walk away. No more demands. The valuation says $368 million. We don't have $368 million in liquid assets. I'd have to sell everything, take out massive loans. It would take months. You have 28 days. Marcus, please. I made mistakes. I let Patricia influence me. I was wrong to vote against you. But you don't have to destroy the entire company to make your point. I'm not destroying anything, I said. I'm taking what's mine. You're the one who can't pay for it. What if I give you controlling interest? 51%. You come back as CEO, run the company however you want. I'll step down completely. I looked at him for a long moment. It was tempting, but I didn't trust him anymore. Too late, I said. You should have offered that before you fired me. I'm offering it now. Now you're desperate. Now you're losing. I don't want to work with someone who sees me as temporary until I'm useful again. He closed his eyes. You're really going to do this? I'm really going to collect what I'm owed. The company will collapse. Everything we built, gone. Then you should have thought about that before you betrayed me. He left without another word. I watched him walk to his car from my window. He looked old, defeated, broken. Part of me felt guilty. The larger part felt nothing. The payment deadline came and went. My dad didn't pay. He couldn't pay. So I exercised my second option, forced sale of the company. Thomas filed the paperwork to trigger a mandatory company sale under the terms of our operating agreement. Within 48 hours, investment bankers were calling, private equity firms were circling, competitors were making inquiries. TechFlow Industries was officially for sale. The sale process took 3 months. During that time, the company continued to hemorrhage talent and clients. My dad tried everything to stop it. He offered me his shares. He offered to step down. He begged me to withdraw the forced sale. I refused everything. I'd made my decision. If I couldn't have the company I built, nobody would. Not my dad, not Patricia, not Theodore Hamilton, not anyone who'd voted to remove me. The final offer came from Quantum Solutions, a competitor we'd beaten in the market for years. They offered $680 million for the entire company, a massive discount from the $920 million valuation 3 months earlier. The board voted to accept. They had no choice. My 40% came to $272 million. After taxes and legal fees, I walked away with $195 million. It was $100 million less than I should have gotten, but it was enough. More than enough. The sale closed on a Friday afternoon. By Monday morning, Quantum had gutted TechFlow's leadership, merged the products into their existing platforms, and laid off 60% of the staff. My dad called me one last time after the sale closed. I hope you're happy, he said. His voice was hollow. You got your money. And you destroyed everything we built. You destroyed it, I corrected. I just refused to let you keep it. 20 years from now, you're going to regret this. You're going to realize what you threw away. 20 years from now, you're going to realize that loyalty matters. That you don't betray the person who built everything you own. I'm still your father. You stopped being my father when you chose Patricia's money schemes over our partnership. When you voted to fire me without even a conversation. When you forgot that I was the one who built the product, brought in the clients, created the culture that made TechFlow work. Silence. Then, I'm sorry, Marcus. Too late, I said and hung up. I blocked his number after that. Blocked Patricia's too. I was done with both of them. Done with the whole chapter of my life. It was time to move forward. 6 months after the sale, I was sitting in a coffee shop in Seattle when I ran into Christopher, one of the senior engineers who'd quit when Theodore took over. Marcus, he said, surprised to see me. How are you doing? Good. You? Better now. Got a job at a startup downtown. Actually wanted to reach out to you about something. We sat down with our coffees. What's up? I asked. 20 of us from the old TechFlow team have been talking. We miss what we had. The culture, the product focus, the leadership. We were wondering if you'd ever consider starting something new. I hadn't thought about it. After the sale, I'd been focused on recovering, on processing everything that had happened. But as Christopher talked about the team, about their ideas, about what they wanted to build, something started stirring in me. What kind of something? I asked. Same space. Better product. We've been sketching ideas. He pulled out his laptop and showed me mock-ups, feature lists, market analysis. It was good. Really good. Who'd fund it? I asked. You, he said simply. You walked away with close to $200 million. We need $5 million to start. 3 weeks later, I filed incorporation papers for a new company, CoreStream Technologies. Christopher became CTO. I became CO. We hired 18 people from the old TechFlow team. I put in $5 million. Nobody else owned a single share. This time, there would be no partners, no board members I didn't choose, no father to betray me. Just a team of people I trusted building something better than before. We launched our first product 8 months later. It was everything TechFlow should have been. Simpler, faster, cheaper. Within 6 months, we had 100 clients. Within a year, we had 500. My dad found out about CoreStream from a business article that mentioned my name. He sent an email. I didn't read it. Patricia tried calling. I blocked her number without listening to the voicemail. They'd made their choices. I'd made mine. We were done. 2 years after I left TechFlow, Quantum Solutions shut down what remained of it. The product had been neglected, the clients had left, the brand was worthless. Everything my dad and I had built was gone. I didn't feel victorious when I heard. I didn't feel anything except a distant sadness for what could have been. CoreStream kept growing. By year 3, we had 1,500 employees and clients in 12 countries. We were profitable, stable, and growing at a sustainable rate. Everything TechFlow had been before my dad's greed poisoned it. One afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Marcus, it's Patricia." I should have hung up immediately. Instead, I waited. "Your father wants to talk to you," she said. "He's not well. The stress from everything, it's affected his heart. He's had 2 surgeries." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because he's your father. Because he made mistakes, but he loves you." He had a funny way of showing it. "Please, Marcus. Just one conversation. He wants to apologize properly." I closed my eyes. Part of me wanted to refuse, to hang up and never think about them again. But another part remembered the early days, the garage, the cold pizza breakfasts, the dreams we'd shared. I agreed to meet him. No promises beyond that. We met at a park near his house. He looked terrible. Thin, gray, older than his 68 years. We sat on a bench, not speaking for several minutes. "I'm sorry," he finally said. "For all of it. For listening to Patricia. For voting to remove you. For forgetting that you were the reason we had a company at all." "Okay," I said. "I was wrong. I let money and ego cloud my judgment. I thought I knew better than you how to run the business. I didn't." "No, you didn't." Patricia and I divorced 6 months ago. After the money dried up, she lost interest. Turns out she was exactly what you said she was. I didn't feel satisfaction hearing that. Just tired. "I don't expect you to forgive me," he continued. "I just wanted you to know that I realize what I destroyed. And that I'm proud of what you've built with CoreStream. You did it right this time." "I did it without partners," I said. "Without people who could betray me." We sat in silence for a while longer. Then he said, "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "Do you ever wish you'd handled it differently? That you'd found a way to fix things instead of burning it all down?" I thought about that. "No," I said finally. "You gave me no choice. You voted to fire me. You aligned with people who wanted to steal what I'd built. If I'd stayed, if I'd tried to fix it, you would have kept undermining me. Sometimes burning it down is the only option." He nodded slowly. "I suppose I deserved that." We talked for another hour. He told me about his health, his regrets, his loneliness. I listened but didn't offer comfort. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. When we parted, he asked if we could meet again. "Maybe," I said. "Someday." I never called him. He never called me. 6 months later, Christopher told me he'd seen Leonard's obituary in the paper. Heart attack, died at home, survived by no immediate family. I went to the funeral. Stood in the back, didn't speak to anyone. Patricia was there, crying dramatically. She didn't see me. I watched as they lowered my father into the ground and felt nothing except a dull ache for what we'd lost long before he died. After the funeral, I drove to CoreStream's office. Walked through the building, saw our employees working, laughing, building something real. This was my legacy now. Not TechFlow, not the $800 million company we'd built together. A company where loyalty mattered, where people were valued, where greed didn't poison everything. I thought about my dad's question, did I wish I'd handled it differently? The answer was still no. He'd betrayed me. I'd made him pay for it. That was justice, not revenge. He'd taught me that business was about hard choices. I'd learned the lesson well. Too well maybe. But I'd learned it. Christopher found me standing in the hallway, lost in thought. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Just thinking. About how sometimes the only way forward is to burn everything down and start over." CoreStream hit $200 million in revenue in year 4. We were growing faster than TechFlow ever had, with better margins and happier employees. I never took on partners. Never formed a board I didn't control absolutely. Never let anyone close enough to betray me. Some people called me paranoid. I called it learned experience. The business press wrote articles about my fall and resurrection. They called me a genius, a visionary, a survivor. I was none of those things. I was just someone who'd been betrayed and refused to let it destroy me. One article mentioned my father's role in TechFlow's creation. They portrayed him as a tragic figure, a father who'd lost his way and paid the ultimate price. They weren't wrong. But they weren't entirely right either. He wasn't tragic. He was greedy. He'd chosen money over family, ego over partnership, and he'd lost everything because of it. I didn't mourn him. I didn't forgive him. I just moved on. That was the real revenge, I realized. Not the forced sale. Not the $195 million payout. Not the company's destruction. The real revenge was building something better without him. 5 years after I left TechFlow, I was sitting in my office when Christopher knocked on the door. "Got a minute?" he asked. "Always." He sat down, looking nervous. "I've been thinking about something, and I wanted to run it by you." "What's up?" "We've had offers from investors. Good offers. People who want to give us money to scale faster, to expand internationally, to become the next big thing. And I think we should consider it. But only if you're comfortable. I know what happened with TechFlow. I know why you kept this company private." I leaned back in my chair. 5 years ago, the answer would have been an immediate no. But things were different now. I was different. "What kind of terms?" I asked. We spent 2 hours going through the proposals. By the end, I'd agreed to take on outside investment, but with ironclad terms. I maintained majority control, I kept final say on all major decisions, and I could force a buyout if any investor tried to remove me. Learned experience. Christopher smiled. "You really don't trust anyone, do you?" "I trust you," I said. "That's why you're my partner now. 20% equity, effective immediately." His eyes went wide. "Marcus, I can't accept that. You earned it. You've been with me from the beginning. You've never asked for more than you deserved. You've never betrayed me." He shook my hand, tears in his eyes. As he left, I looked out my window at the Seattle skyline. Somewhere out there, TechFlow's old office building stood empty. Quantum had abandoned it years ago. I'd driven by it once. Saw the broken windows, the faded sign, the parking lot full of weeds. That building was my father's legacy. A monument to greed and betrayal. CoreStream was mine. A company built on loyalty, on trust earned rather than assumed, on the simple principle that you don't destroy the people who build your dreams. My dad had taught me how to build a business. But he'd also taught me how to recognize betrayal, how to protect myself, and how to win when people underestimated me. Those were valuable lessons. Painful but valuable. I picked up my phone and looked at the last email he'd sent me 5 years ago. I'd never read it. Now, finally, I opened it. "Marcus, I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I want you to know that everything good about TechFlow came from you. I was just the money. You were the heart. Build something better. Prove that I was wrong to doubt you. That's the only apology I can offer. Dad." I read it twice, then deleted it. He'd been right about one thing. I had built something better. And I'd done it by learning from his mistakes. That was the real victory.